So we need to talk about A'ja Wilson's MVP. And this is something that has been talked about since day one. And I always found it really weird how from game one, I mean this, from game one of the season, people were saying that it was she's unanimous MVP. People were calling her unanimous MVP when the Aces were 6-6. I felt a little bit weird about that, especially, but now when the Aces are looking, we've seen a larger sample size, and we've not only seen the Aces kind of underperform based on where they're meant to be, but we've also seen, to an extent, A'ja not performing as well as other games against the best teams. Is it time to question whether or not she is MVP? Of course not. Of course not. A'ja Wilson's going to be the MVP. Like, there's a near 0% chance she's not the MVP. A'ja Wilson is going to break the record for most points per game in a season. And I know, you might be like, oh, but like, it doesn't lead to wins. Who cares? She's going to average like 27 a game. Just give her, she's going to average 27 and 12. She is the MVP. Is she unanimous? I don't think so. Now, that is where I don't think it's hating. The amount of abuse Rebecca Lobo got for saying at the All-Star game is like, oh, she's the MVP and could be the unanimous MVP. For not just going automatically saying she's the unanimous MVP. Do you want to know why? Because if you want to look at teams above them, the Minnesota, and if you want to even say the Liberty are too stacked, the Liberty don't look any more stacked. But like, there is an argument to be made that Fee Collier is the MVP. You know what I'm saying? Oh, she's averaging less points, less rebounds. But like, she's almost as good a defender. Her team's better. She plays better against the best teams. Other than, again, this game she got hurt. She plays better against the best teams. Yeah, she wasn't as good in the Olympics. But who gives a flying F-U-C-K about the Olympics this season? Sabrina Ionescu should get at least one MVP vote. This should not be unanimous. Look, A'ja Wilson still probably should be the MVP. And I know, obviously, the way people are voting, they vote. They don't vote, like, knowing, like, what other people are voting. But Sabrina Ionescu should have at least one MVP vote. Sabrina Ionescu, again, she is someone who has, for a lot of this season, carried this team. Stewie hasn't played every game. There are games where they have been winning big without Breanna Steward. She's had some multiple 30 games. Like this, July the 16th against the Connecticut Sun. I don't think Stewie played this game, did he? Did she? No. They beat the Sun without Breanna Stewart. Without Breanna Stewart. Why? Because she goes and drops 30. And you might be saying, oh, but like the Aces are winning games without Chelsea Gray. I'm like, yeah, that was like they've won their 500 without Chelsea Gray. And two, like, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. But like, the Liberty have lost less games. Liberty have lost 4 games all year. One of them was the flukiest win I've seen in the history of basketball was the start of the season against the Sky. And in fairness, the Fever fluked the win. The Fever fluked the win. 2 of their losses have been fluke losses. One was against the Sun when the Sun started off 10-0. And I don't know what the 4th game was. But they're so much better than everybody else. And the funniest part is that some of the people that are most championing online for the, A'ja Wilson has to win unanimous MVP, are the same people that were like, MVP should go to the best player on the best team. It's like, it doesn't always go like that. It doesn't always go like that. Now they're changing their mind. But, look, A'ja Wilson is the MVP. If you're talking about MVP rankings, I think it's very, very difficult to put Caitlin Clark in the MVP conversation based on the start of the season. Based on, like, she had multiple 10 turnover games. And, like, it's not like now where if she has 10 turnovers, it's fine because you can see how her just play style, her pushing the pace, her ability to throw passes is affecting her team. She was turning the ball over, dribbling to the halfway line. There's different types of turnovers, numbers. Like, if she has 10 turnovers now with the way the game is, it's likely if she's got 10 turnovers trying to do some crazy stuff and just has an off day. Trying to do some great stuff and just has an off day. And not like at the start of the year where she couldn't even dribble. She could barely dribble the ball. She was just so much of a shock that first game. Which is fine. It happens. But Caitlin Clark is not in the MVP talks. However, if you want to argue Caitlin Clark's the best in the world, I don't agree, but there's more talk with that. But like MVP is over the totality of the season, and a quarter of the season, Caitlin Clark was fine. She was fine. Through 10 games, she was fine. Through the next 10, she was good. And through the last 7, or is it 7 or 8? Through the last 8, she's been MVP level. If it was an MVP the last 10 games, it's Caitlin Clark. But season is a season. But we gotta just stop saying this is a formality. Because it's likely. It's very, very likely she wins MVP. She's gonna win MVP. It's gonna take her, because of especially the narratives around it, it's gonna take her having a disastrous end to the year, or the Aces somehow dropping to the 6th seed for her not to win MVP. But nobody is winning a unanimous MVP from the 5th seed. They're just not. If she wins a unanimous MVP from the 5th seed, it makes a mockery of things. Again, she's probably the MVP. If she wins unanimous from the 5th seed. Like, if somehow they end up at 3, you might be saying it's an individual award, it's not a team award. I'm like, yeah, but you also do sometimes have to win. Which is, again, why I take Caitlin Clark completely out of that MVP conversation. Because of how bad the team started, they're negative, right? Like, they have a negative record right now. You can't have... as much as you want to say maybe MVP for their team, you can maybe argue this, if you want to make, their addition makes their team so much better if they're not there. If you want to make that argument for MVP, the MVP is Ryan Howard. But, yeah, that's my opinion on it all. Like, she's going to win MVP, but saying with 12 games to go that she's a guaranteed unanimous MVP, when at this point in the year, she's almost trending downwards, whereas Sabrina Ionescu is, like, the maddest part about the Liberty is, like, they win. If Sabrina's not there, Stewie steps up and plays like an MVP. If Stewie's not there, Sabrina steps up and plays like an MVP. The Aces just look bad. And it's not an A'ja Wilson. We saw with Team USA, she was 1A, 1B with Stewie. Like, she is better than Sabrina Ionescu as a player. She is better than Fee Collier as a player. But the Lynx without Fee looked fine. The Lynx with Fee looked like the 1A, 1B. They look like contenders. The Aces don't even look like contenders right now. So it is going to be interesting. I think she does it. But my whole thing was, from day one, everyone was like, unanimous MVP, unanimous MVP, unanimous MVP. Oh, she needs to win unanimous MVP, Defense Player of the Year. I think the plan was, get all these viewers in and have A'ja Wilson win everything. MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, title, Finals MVP. She's going to win MVP. Ezi Magbegor should be the Defensive Player of the Year. I think she's further ahead. I think it's more of a robbery. Like, it's not a robbery. She's the deserving MVP. I think it's a robbery if she wins Defensive Player of the Year. But also, they might lose in the first round of the playoffs. I would be shocked. Like, I would be surprised if they win a playoff series. I would be shocked if they make the final. If they make the finals. And I would be so shocked if they win that I will record an entire apology video about the Las Vegas Aces. Because, yeah, it's just a bit of a disaster season. But again, look, you don't do what A'ja Wilson has done this season and not win the MVP. You don't set the all-time points record, while would have set the all-time rebounds record if Angel Reese wasn't breaking that. And like, she's going to smash that record. She's playing... Angel Reese might not hit these rebounds again in her career, by the way. She's playing with bricklayers who miss constant shots and is going to average like 8 offensive rebounds the rest of the way. Trust me on that one. But, yeah. Interesting one. An interesting one. She's going to be the MVP. It should not be unanimous.